Hello and welcome to a Star Citizen monthly report. It's May 2022 and we're going to be looking at what Cloud Imperium have been working on over the last few weeks and what they're focused on now in regards to Star Citizen's persistent universe in the wake of 3.17's release and the run up to Fleet Week. You'll be able to see the influences here and the work they've been doing as we plod towards Q2's release Alpha 3.18 as well. So let's start with some gameplay features. The Persistent Universe Gameplay Features team spent the month supporting the release of refueling and mining gadgets, including a fix for in-atmosphere refueling. For mining gadgets, they added a red light to clearly show when the gadget has detached. Significant progress was made on ship salvage, with an improved HUD being created for the Drake Vulture's salvage mode. They also added additional aiming functionality tailored to the unique setup of the ship's arms. The Reclaimer's salvage turrets were also properly set up and can now scrape hulls. So, does this mean that when we get salvage in 3.18, we'll also get some functionality to the Reclaimer? That seems quite possible now. VFX continued their work on salvage effects, shifting focus to the vehicle hull stripping variant. The VFX team said this proved more challenging than the FPS variant, as depth perception is trickier to gauge from the ship cockpit and the player's position relative to the salvage nozzle. Because of this, we're currently experimenting with visual aids to give players a more user-friendly experience. They also continued experimenting with better ways to fracture geometry to help create more realistic-looking damage. The UK-based ship team finalised paints for the RSI Scorpius, completing their work on the ship. The Banu Merchantman's exterior progressed through Gradebox, with the team acting on what was learned during various R&D phases. 4 unannounced vehicles were also further developed through the month. One is in its final art phase, with work focusing on complex technical areas. 2 are currently in white box stage, while 1 was completed from an art perspective. In the US, the team focused on the Drake Corsair, creating space in the fuselage for the docking ring, turrets, landing gear, and elevator. They then moved on to exterior detailing towards the tail. For the interior, they created the crew quarter set that will populate all 4 rooms. The foyer was finished, while the co-pilot's cockpit, engineering room, turret interior, and airlock are all nearing completion. The vehicle feature team did some tech setup for the Hull A, making sure its cargo feature works as designed. They then implemented the turret on the Scorpius. They're planning some support and updates and tweaks to the refueling feature beyond its initial release. Work was also done on quality of life improvements and tuning across the game, including for racing ships in atmosphere, loadout changes, and health of industrial ships. The character and weapon feature teams worked on various known inventory issues. This involved adjusting the underlying inventory logic to work with the new persistent stack, which was a significant undertaking involving close collaboration with back-end teams. Once completed, they moved back onto the fire extinguisher. The team said it is an interesting challenge, as it has quite a different profile compared to other weaponry. It has a bulky cylinder that holds the gas or liquid, which it can spray continuously. This gadget is going to be important in combating interior fires on spaceships to stop them draining the life-critical oxygen supply. We are closely working with VFX teams to connect the logic with the fire hazard system, as well as bring the weapon to life visually. This has been getting a lot of work for a while and is sort of part of the damage control gameplay. It's going to have engineers running around putting out fires, making sure the ship doesn't run out of oxygen, sealing off areas, that sort of jazz. Weapons Art worked on some techniques for less FPS weapon clipping and then did some polish passes. They also worked on the Banu ship weapons, filling out the manufacturer with several new product lines. Animation completed their first pass on many of the new FPS gadgets and iterated on the setup with the art team. Animation released their work to the Persistent Universe with the vendor, the coffee shop vendor. They also began filling out leisure areas with AI, including characters using arcade machines, additional idols, and actions at tables, such as using their Mobiglass. Facial animations were done for outlaws, vendors, bartenders, and a new mission giver too. For weapons and gadgets, blockout animations were created for handheld gadgets and explosives, and work began on a new SMG. Previous work was also done for how a weighed down player should feel, and patrons drinking at bars and tables. Character art continued to work on Frontier clothing for Pyro. They also polished a large batch of armor and clothing material variants for the Ninetales gang. A salvage-themed backpack is currently being worked on by Tech Art, while concept art is in progress for a collection of fashionable outfits for Stanton. The Montreal locations team are approaching the last development phases of both the Reclaimer Derelict Settlement and Reclaimer Space-Based Points of Interest. For the Derelict Settlement, the art team is currently polishing the carcass of the Reclaimer and the Habs, while the design team is implementing the location's missions. The Space-Based Points of Interest progressed through the grey box phase. Last month's work included the design team implementing and tweaking missions. The art team also began an art pass to narratively support in mission themes. Further progress was also made on ongoing Lorville cityscape revamps, which involved defining recipes for buildings and blocking out the city. The team said work is progressing well, and we're confident that the new scale of the city will support a lot of interesting future opportunities. The lighting and EU location teams have been focusing on Invictus Launch Week, Fleet Week, and finalising the environments there. A full lighting pass was completed on various locations and points of interest before the team moved on to polishing. Elsewhere, work is almost complete on several small locations the Sandbox art team is planning to release in an upcoming patch. The areas themselves are finished and are currently awaiting a distribution pass across Stanton. Other space-based points of interest are being worked on. The team is exploring a final theme before moving into the white box stage. New cave prototypes are progressing well, with improvements to materials and the general read across the board. The second round of content for the initial release of the new colonial outposts is nearing completion. The outposts will soon start being distributed across the Pyro system in readiness for their debut. That sounds really good. We are on the road to Pyro this year for 2022, and what does that mean? We don't actually know yet. We're hoping that it means that we get Pyro at the end of the year, but we'll have to wait and see. Narrative continued support for ongoing work on future dynamic event missions and discussed how best to incorporate a new upcoming gameplay module into one particular mission's flow. Work progressed on the new star map and radar UI. The devs implemented basic controls, enabling them to look around a solar system and view the planets, orbits, and vehicles within it. They also began adding an info panel that players can use to see details about selected objects. The UI team said, although rough around the edges, the groundwork is there for us to add functionality and start improving the visuals. The visor and lens conversion, which involves converting the existing player HUD elements to building blocks, is well underway. Many widgets, including weapon information and mission objectives, were ported to the new system. They also continue to update features in support of persistent streaming. The UI tech team continued developing additional building blocks features, one of which will replace the canvas slicing technology used to develop 3D UIs. The new card system received major usability and performance improvements and is currently being tested in the vehicle HUD for the hull scraping feature. The team also worked on a new AR marker and improved various widgets to help the UI designers work more efficiently. In regard to engine updates, there were various physics updates, removing unnecessary computations, generally improving physics, and the sort of code behind it. The Gen 12 renderer transition continued, with planet terrain patch rendering being enabled, in addition to some improvements. Shadow generation was enabled, for example. Gen 12 versions of the planet terrain height map and shadow rendering systems were finalized and merged with the upstream. The same Gen 12 process for atmosphere and cloud rendering will commence shortly. Lots of work has been going into render-to-texture RTT support. Significant progress was also made on the new entity graph service. Time was spent investigating an AI desync issue. Although many improvements have been made, the depth of the issue across many areas of the game has made it difficult to narrow down the causes, with fixes exposing further problems. They are continuing to work on these issues now. Boom! That's it for your Star Citizen Persistent Universe monthly report this time. But what do you think? What are you thinking of Alpha 3.17? Are you seeing any of the improvements and bits that we talked about in the monthly report actually being integrated into 3.17? Have you noticed improvements there? Are you looking forward to Fleet Week towards the end of May? What do you think those 4 unannounced vehicles could be, or those new missions and areas? Do you think Star Citizen's Persistent Universe sort of development is gearing up, or is there too much focus on Squadron 42? Talking about Squadron, we will look at the monthly report for that and AI updates in another video real soon. But whatever your thoughts, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. I saw NordVPN once. I was in a forest, late at night. I'd got lost, and then I heard it, an unearthly sound as if the wind was talking to me. NordVPN.com/BoredGamer. Then I saw him run at me. He was so free, almost as if he could be anywhere in the world. America, France, Australia. He was so secure, protected in layers of encryption that I could not even fathom. So majestic. Well, I heard that NordVPN was as big as a bear and could kick your head off. I've also heard that, which is why, just in case, I go to nordvpn.com/BoredGamer to appease the beast. You can find links to that down below. If you're looking for a new god, why not try NordVPN? Every month we have a ship giveaway. This time for May, to celebrate Star Citizen Alpha 3.17's release, we're giving away 3 prizes to 3 separate winners. An Origin 100i luxury starter ship, a consolidated Outland Nomad versatile freighter, and an Aegis Avenger Titan multi-role ship. They all come with lifetime insurance and access to play Star Citizen. To be in for a chance of winning one of those 3 prizes, just comment on any of my videos made during May. More details in the description below. Thank you so much to everyone that watches, shares, comments, and likes my videos. It really does help the channel grow. Be sure to subscribe for more content. If you would like to go to the extra mile in supporting the channel, there is Patreon links below. There's a join button under my videos as well on YouTube that makes you a highly elite channel member with some extra perks and exclusive content. There's also the thanks button, which straight up gives us money, and you can leave a highlighted comment. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great May 2022.